let's talk through this. We're going from one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, to the Honky Tonk Man. And at the time, the perception was that the Intercontinental Belt was the quote-unquote workers' title. You had really great in-ring guys. And I understand Honky Tonk Man had white-hot heat. We talked about it here on the show, I believe, last week.
Look who it is.
Or when we covered Dusty Rhodes. But is this par for course to go from a Ricky Steamboat type performer with that belt to a Honky Tonk Man? It didn't seem curious to you at the time?
Not necessarily. And it's funny you say it was a worker's belt. Who says? I mean, because, it's one of those situations that the top worker is the guy that makes the most money and who is usually the champion, the guy, and that was Hogan and then Savage later on in that case. And the Intercontinental Championship was a prestigious title that was kind of the next guy in line.
Well, I mean, the guys, you asked where that comes from. Well, it comes from, in the years prior to that, guys like Pat Patterson or even Tito Santana, Macho Man, Ricky Steamboat, and now Honky Tonk Man. Is that not a game of which one of these is not like the other to you?
Well, but also you take a look at Honky Tonk Man. I do think Honky Tonk was a hell of a worker. He was a guy that worked his gimmick and was able to get heat, carried a lot of heat, and he was the kind of champion that everybody in the arena knew they could beat. Right? Every guy sitting in the arena would sit there and go, "Oh, that damn Honky Tonk Man, I'll whoop his ass." And he could squeak by and continue to hold on to that championship no matter who he was against. And he would make the babyface. So that's a valuable guy. That's a valuable champion to have. Much like Ric Flair did.
I knew you were going to do that. Okay, I'm going to move on before I get half on. So, let's get back to it here. Now
you want to change?
No. Honky Tonk. Well, let's not debate the greatness of the Nature Boy Ric Flair and compare him to the fucking Honky Tonk Man. Okay, so, Honky Tonk Man now has the title. We have randomly selected him, and he is now in a match with the Macho Man. And is this the main event, or is this Saturday Night Main Event, where they're going to face each other?
This was I believe it was the main event.
Okay, so
live on NBC into WrestleMania 4, the switch with Andre and
the double ref dude.
Yeah.
So I commonly get this confused, and I want you to clarify for everyone listening as you do for me. What's the difference between the main event and Saturday Night's main event?
The main event was a Friday night primetime special. It aired in primetime, 1 hour show on NBC. Saturday night's main event was
Hostile assembling Golden Bullet.
It aired in place of Saturday Night Live on NBC on Saturday nights. So Saturday night's main event was a late night program. It aired in place of Saturday Night Live. And the main event was a primetime special that aired on NBC 8 to 9 Eastern Time.
What was the booking difference between the two as far as the philosophy is?
The philosophy is it's simply a matter of television writing. And when you're in prime time, normally you will build to a climax. So you're watching an hour program, you're going to build to the last quarter hour of the show. You're going to build to a big climax in the show. Late night programming, Saturday Night Live, Saturday night's main event, is you build everything up front. So all of your marquee stuff is going to happen earlier in programming because you're fighting sleep. Your audience dwindles as it gets later on in the night. So that's why you watch Saturday Night Live. All the good stuff is usually at the very beginning, and then it gets less and less attractive towards the end of the night. You're fighting sleep. We didn't have VCRs or DVRs.
Are you here to surrender your life?
Golden Bullet.
What happens, and do you recall the Honky Tonk Man? I know.
shot me?
Agent vital signs 0.
If someone had refused to do a job, normally that would be reason enough to take the championship off of them or have them do a job.
So maybe maybe a better way to say that is the honky tonk man lobby to keep
Friendly
it.
combatants
Vince
detected.
went with it, and obviously since he kept it on through SummerSlam, he probably agreed that the timing was wrong and he was doing a fine job gaining some heat for him.
Pretty obvious, yeah.
Okay, so now that we kind of have that cleared up, let's go ahead and go to WrestleMania 4. He's in the main event. He being Macho Man is now in the main event against Ted DiBiase. Is DiBiase, in your opinion, the best wrestler to never have the World Championship?
Without a doubt, I think Ted DiBiase was being groomed at the time, some say, to be the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And when Ted came to the WWF, $80 man gimmick, it was viewed as, here's an opportunity.
We need to retrieve the antivirus before Black Tusk can move them somewhere safer. Head down into the sinkhole and locate the maintenance pump room. We rigged explosives there that should get you inside the perimeter once you detonate them.
Do you believe that that was the original plan? I mean, that would have been, if that really was true, of DiBiase winning the belt at WrestleMania 4, that would have been the first time the WrestleMania ended with a champion victorious that was a heel. I mean,
Again, you talk about plans and people say, oh, this is what they had originally. It's funny when that gets reported or people talk about, well, that's what they had planned. It could go 50-50 either way. And yes, it was discussed. What if? What would happen if DiBiase were the champion? What would happen if Andre were the champion? What would happen to the Brooklyn Brawl that was the champion? You may discuss all of those things, but the ultimate plan is what happened. And that actually, you sit there and go, okay, well, this is where we want to go. And Andrea said, the elevator, and was having a hell of a spike as a babyface in the front. So, as I say, a lot of the babyface competition
So let's talk about that. For WrestleMania 4 and over the air, and we've got a pretty big look through. Elizabeth Macho. Okay, you guys kind of know where you're going with the models and plans. So what are some of the subtleties that work out to finish that championship? Well, obviously,
and the idea was simply to have Hogan be there in the end with Savage, with the new champion, and Randy Savage and Hulk right there by his side. So his buddy is there.
Oh shit, that's what they were shooting at my head. You should shut it, man.
So let's talk about Macho Man. I think people are kind of now that baby faces make more money and
That
with the
was
current
good
product
shot at.
because of the way the merchandise works. And I assume that was the case back then. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say, yeah.
So I know of at least one top person in the WWE now who, would rather be a heel than a babyface, even if being a babyface meant more money. Would that be fair to say that was kind of the Macho Man's take, with as long as he was a heel?
Hostile assembling Golden Bullet.
As notorious as he was with penny pinching and trying to be frugal, so to speak, what
Golden Bullet complete.
if he goes back heel in a year, that's pretty much going to dry up.
How any doubt Randy loved the money of merchandising, everything that came with it. Being a babyface and all the opportunities that came with it. However, at the time, the WWF was a different place, and frankly, was had on
Hostile broadcast picked up.
at the time.
Just need some time to get my head.
Babyface, you gotta make money, you're gonna sell more merchandise.
Right.
That's how
Someone else's turn to get shot.
he enjoyed
Fire
being
in
a
the
heel,
hole.
and strongly felt that
see we've got Andre the Giant, and in the opposite corner we've got the Mega
Hostile
Powers.
broadcast
Now it's a real
detected.
thing. Randy's wearing all his trunks. We've got Hulk Hogan and Macho Man in their corner. We've got Miss Elizabeth. And we would see later that there are some more little subtleties you guys have booked here. Tell us about those.
Well, as you're looking at the whole year, you're looking towards the big event. And at the time, WrestleMania was a big event. We had a Survivor Series. We hadn't yet had a SummerSlam. And so now we're going in, and it's the end of the summer. We're going to go to pay-per-view. We're going to have this event called SummerSlam. The Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. We got Jesse the Body, who's the color commentator at the time. He's a special guest referee. We got Miss Elizabeth in the middle of it. We got Virgil on one side. It was the top guy. Randy Savage was your babyface champion. Ted DiBiase was a nasty, dastardly heel chasing the belt. And you got Big Mean Nasty Giant on the outside. Andre couldn't work a whole lot at the time, so you had to pick and choose Andre's matches. And Andre and Hulk, that was money to have them in a match. It made sense. It also made sense to continue to build the friendship between Randy and Hulk. So you got the Mega Powers. Remember the handshake on the knee?
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Mega Powers unite. Yeah. And it was built as this mega tag team match on pay-per-view. So important, you know. It warranted another pay-per-view. And that was a big deal at the time. But again, knowing where you're going, there had to be little things that happen along the way. That when you plant seeds along the way, and you can go back and show your audience how these things evolve.
Our enemies want you to stop living a life and build the city they
You're
want.
right, I remember that.
But the hyenas, we tore up the rule book long ago.
Now,
If you want freedom, join us.
you can see the jealousy, you can see the seething, and you go back. You know what, Martin?
Enjoy the little time you have left in the world. Plenty of hidden pleasures on offer. The hyenas can show you where to find them.
We built the story through Randy's eyes, and we built the story through Hulk's eyes. So we set up little details.
How much time have we got? I think it's safe to say that nobody knows. Have a drink. Freak out on spice. Hell, enjoy yourself. You might not be alive tomorrow.
A system that enhanced care services to various daily programs, safety and security, transportation, resort style.
Our enemies want you to stop living a life and build the city they want. But the hyenas, we tore up the rule book long ago.
Talk to each other for sales, another for inventory, separate one for accounting. Before you know it, you are drowning in software instead of your business. This is where Hoodoo comes in. Hoodoo is the only business software.
Golden Bullet being assembled by hostile.
The integrated platform that handles everything. CRM, accounting, inventory, e-commerce, HR, and more. The best part, Hoodoo replaces multiple expensive platforms for a fraction of the cost. It's going to grow with your business, whether you are just starting out or already scaling up. Plus, it's
You've got your objective. Don't let anything stand in your way.
process, so you can focus on what really matters.
Serious trauma detected. Agent down.
Remember that. And
Agent vital signs.
you ever
0.
had a girlfriend, a wife, or anybody, and you were a little jealous of somebody, maybe they were paying a little bit too much attention to her. She was paying.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Damn.
Agent out of picture. Agent
Damn.
killed.
Kiss my ass. These mother.
What the hell was that about?
Serious trauma detected.
Damn. Hell no.
It started to kind of plant some more seeds.
Agent down.
The SummerSlam match was very simple. It was a look. It was a look from Hulk to Liz. And a look that, upon further examination,
Social.
from a very jealous macho man,
You have left.
might have been a little inappropriate.
It's too much.
So we did these things. The cameraman, the director, everybody, they knew to get the
Civilians
shots
in distress.
right, but they didn't know what they were getting at the time. I say, Hulk knew, Randy knew, Liz knew, we knew, but it was a nuance that was going to be told a little bit later on in the story. And Randy's eyes,
Golden. Received.
So, the deal is, Elizabeth has her skirt removed.
exactly.
Incoming hostiles detected.
So you work closely with Ventura. How was he to work with as a talent at the time?
I can't believe I'm still alive.
Jesse actually was great working with him. What I did not
Let me alone.
work with Jesse. And I'm just used to dealing with talent one-on-one. Jesse's agent was challenging, especially back in those days, but
Thank God.
he was the only one. But overall, the talent working with Jesse, I had a lot of fun with that. But Jesse Ventura, the guy you see now, is kind of the same guy who's back then. He had his very complicated political views, and he was Jesse.
So let's touch on that for a minute real quick. What was the situation with him suing for royalties? Do you recall how that came about and what the conversation was with Vince internally?
I remember it was Jesse because we had Coliseum videos, and on the Coliseum videos, the talent was paid royalties if they appeared on Coliseum videos. Jesse's voice appeared on the Coliseum videos as a color commentator, and there was debate over whether or not he was due royalties because as a commentator, it wasn't like being a wrestler. I believe in Vince's eyes. And Jesse was not paid for his commentary work on the Coliseum videos. So Jesse sued and won.
I totally did
So,
something.
Bullet being assembled by hostile.
so who would have been younger?
Simply a spokesman.
Ownership. So,
gentleman who played the Colonel,
Burt Reynolds' character.
no,
Oh,
the older gentleman that came to Burt Reynolds' character and said, "Hey, kid, or we're making the move from film to video."
Right.
Was very, very loosely based on Arthur Morowitz and Howard Parker, or Arthur Morowitz, because Arthur was a visionary and ahead of his time, and H&H Video were one of the first to go from film to tape in that industry, and they were very, very successful. Arthur was the godfather of video back in the day.
So, carry me through, as we talk about Coliseum Video, wouldn't they be the person who was paying the royalties, or why did Vince have to pay out of his end? I guess I don't know yet.
Well, it was simply because Vince paid the royalties to the talent, and the talent was paid.
He probably
The
got
company came back and was paid for their royalties off of sales and distribution, and then the talent was paid for that.
So it's fair to say that Vince, or WWF, whatever you call it, didn't get a third of that partnership. They got a much larger portion since they were creating the content paying the royalties.
You know, I don't know exactly what the split was, but I don't really know, but I'm sure it was more than a third.
When you were at WrestleMania 5, did you get royalties?
I never got royalties, but that's a whole nother subject.
Okay. I thought you got super good royalties.
You know, I was taken very good care of, and I was paid. I was a producer and worked behind the scenes, so I was a salaried employee in addition to my talent duties. So
No royalties.
no what.
Carry everybody through, and I don't want you to necessarily name any names. Let's not use Hogan as an example, because we know he's probably on a separate deal. Let's use someone mid card, and I don't mean to say that disparagingly at all. But let's say a Bushwhacker. What would a royalty have been for back in those days for being on video tape? Can you take a stab at it? And I know
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I know that some of the guys early on, they did the first action figures, that some of those royalties were upwards of $75,000 per quarter.
Wow, for a quarter.
For a quarter.
So a guy could have made north of $250 a year just on figure sales.
Back in the day, yeah.
And when you say back in the day, you mean the first set of LJN probably?
First set, yeah. LJN stuff. You know, help at the gym, Iron Sheik, Volkov, those guys.
Do you remember ever hearing of a really big royalty check for video sales? That's not a major revenue stream.
It was, but to say that this percentage went to or came from Coliseum Video or videos like that, I wouldn't.
Do you have any idea what the formula was?
I don't.
Okay. Is it true? I'm just ballparking here. I believe Jesse got several $100,000. Not quite $1 million, but several $100,000.
It was 800.
That's what I heard too. I just wanted to kind of confirm that.
Yeah, it was public record. It was a very publicized case.
Okay, so now we're done with SummerSlam '88. The seasons. Next major show, of course, is the Survivor Series, and curious through how you guys continue to plant these seeds at Survivor Series in 1988.
Well, the idea of the Survivor Series was Randy at the end, and Hulk and Randy, they had the Mega Powers. Face, I don't even remember who they faced on the other side. But the end of the match again, we went from the end of SummerSlam and Hulk having lust in his eyes to Hulk taking it to the next level and actually touching Elizabeth in a lustful way through the eyes of Macho Man. And at the end of the match, Randy had picked
Detected.
Elizabeth
Nearby
up,
location.
put her
Guarded
up
by
on his
hostiles.
shoulders, he often did it after
Oh,
victory,
they
and
did.
did his Macho Man pose with the finger in the air and Liz on his shoulder, and Hogan from behind came and placed his hand on the derriere of Miss Elizabeth. And through the eyes of the jealous Macho Man, he had crossed the line from friend to lustful and just inappropriate.
So, time that's acknowledged on television. So you guys at this point are really letting the audience know where you're headed. And those of you keeping score at home, you know, so just to remind us, it's the Mega Powers, Hercules,
Reinforcements incoming. Hostile assembling Golden Bullet.
Off mic right now, and they are wrestling the Twin Towers, Ted DiBiase, Haku, and everyone's favorite Brad Turner. As far as managers go, have Slick, Bobby Kieran, and Burns on the outside. Lots to talk about. So I'm going to that media of it. Obviously, it's a big call right here. Go ahead and get Ventura to acknowledge it on commentary. You guys have started to sow these seeds. Now you're going to need to
Oh, come on. Knock this motherfucker head.
Vital signs critical.
Angle and all of a sudden they hate each other. It's slow.
Two quick questions here about
Agent down. Agent deceased.
Couple was hell of a worker. He was small. Right. You know, he wasn't in Memphis, he was a giant. Right. But, you know, you get in the land of the giants up in WWF, and he wasn't a big guy. A couple tough son of a bitch in real life.
what did you consider Coco to be very cruiserweight?
Nah, I think Coco was on that too.
Safe area detected.
So, I don't know if I consider Coco a cruiserweight or not.
I had to ask.
At least not to his face.
Let's move on to everyone's favorite, and I know you the Red Rooster. Oh, that's something we're going to talk about on the show in these episodes. Let's go ahead
We
and
need to
start.
destroy it!
That's there, and I put up there. Apparently, that's that. Red Rooster.
company or ever have a company themselves, you know, I want those of you critics out there that still think that Dusty Rhodes is crib and think that Brad Russell was a crib. Think about it. You had company business the same. Just to bust on somebody. How much you everybody else thinks the sun is a joke. Does that mean just is a joke? Spend millions of dollars on it. Just so you can sit back and laugh at it while they
Agent received a golden bullet. Incoming hostiles detected.
Not so defensive, though. Don't have a shot.
Already scaling up. Plus, it's easy to use, customizable, and designed to streamline every process, so you can focus on what really matters: running your business. Thousands of businesses have made the switch. So
Hostile completed the golden bullet.
I won't let you down.
Don't worry about that.
Heavily armored hostiles detected.
Not the American dream, in the way one man gang was made to dance. Very similar to the way maybe somebody used to dive in the ring before they dropped the line and elbow on somebody.
steal from the best.
But instead of the American dream, the African dream, where he's a white man, like, that wasn't a real deal.
Damn, get out of the way.
Again, it's not a red.
Serious trauma detected. Agent down.
Fuck a guy in my goddamn way and fuck me up.
And I was with one man gang here recently and had a great time reminiscing with things. We had a whole lot of time to reminisce. It was a lot of fun.
I got my motherfucking relevant art.
Yes, Mr. Perfect was a guy. Hadn't ever wanted to be the all-around best of everything. He was the best hunter. He was the best fisherman. He could do this. He could do that. And as Pat is explaining all this, and he hits the golf ball and it goes right in the pole. And he hits the baseball and it falls out of the park.
Thanks for all your help.
Supply room access unlocked.
Thanks for all your help.
And it was like, it's perfect. Everything he does is perfect. So, the truth is that when we reached into the gimmick box, we pulled out Mr. Perfect from her headache, and then the next one
Good thing
was,
you didn't have any more supplies.
you know, Cockadoodle Man. No, and Cockadoodle Man got his gimmick from Vince McMahon, thinking he was cocky, and looked at him as the cock of the walk, how he saw himself, he being Terry Taylor, whose goal in life was to imitate Ric Flair, and saw him as a rooster, as a banny rooster. As a guy, he's a
asked him to work in a certain way. Terry, in his way, looked at it as a rib, did not embrace it, did not do it to the best of his ability, and it failed. But to this day, more people will still refer to Paul W. Taylor as the Red Rooster before they will call him Terry Taylor, or before they will call him whatever other ridiculous gimmicks that they did with him down south when he was, what was he, the $300 man or something down there? Like that wasn't a rib and that wasn't a rip off on another gimmick that was done by someone else?
Was the walk that you guys had him do a nod to Ric Flair?
No, that was the walk he did. The walk that we wanted him to do was basically to strut like a rooster.
Okay. Let's talk about.
You're saying Ric Flair walks like a rooster?
Okay.
That's what you said.
You compared him to the Honky Tonk Man, and I can't wait to tell him he's gonna. You're gonna get a 3 a.m. promo very soon. So let's go ahead now. We're done with Survivor Series 88. We're rolling into the new year. Back on track here for the Mega Powers. It's 1989, and very early in the year, we go to one of the best events of the year, the Royal Rumble. And there had been previous Rumbles prior to this, but this is going to be an interesting one because both the Macho Man and the Warrior
Hostile assembling Golden Bullet.
Savage is pissed. They managed to patch things up afterwards, but for a few minutes, there's a very tense moment. Elizabeth's kind of in the middle, and then cooler heads prevail. They hug it out, and
Civilians in danger.
So now you're really starting.
Now we're getting into it because Hogan has now cost Randy the victory at the Royal Rumble. So now it's progressing. It's getting physical between the two. So you had your initial look, you had the hand on the derriere, you got Hogan dumping Randy out over the top rope, eliminating him at the Royal Rumble, but they're still the Mega Powers. So they're still the strongest team there is, and along the way here come the Twin Towers, Akeem, the African Dream, and the Big Boss Man with their manager Slick. And we get to the main event, which is the Friday night prime time special on NBC. The Mega Powers versus the Twin Towers with Slick in one corner and Miss Elizabeth in the Mega Powers corner. And we get there, and that was the night that Randy was up on the outside. Randy began right down Elizabeth on the floor. Elizabeth's knocked out cold. Randy gets pulled back into the ring and is in the ring getting crap beat out of it by the Mega Powers. When Hulk sees Elizabeth down and hurt, he has to take care of Elizabeth. So Hulk scoops Elizabeth up and takes her to the back, to the doctor in the backstage area, leaving Randy in the ring by himself to fight off the Twin Towers, while Hulk is left with his wife, Miss Elizabeth.
Now this is actually live.
Live.
And there is a famous leak that was really popular with the entertainment community in the 90s, where you could hear what I believe to be an NBC executive giving a countdown to Hogan. Hogan's own character standing around in the back, hanging out, and chaos ensues. What was your memory of that?
Have you ever died a slow death?
No, but you have a few times.
You know what? That's going to be a show here pretty soon, too. Yeah, we were on the air, and they were trying to... They being, well, production people and stage hands and let Hulk know that we were on the air. And Hulk's not getting the clue and is trying to ask how much time until we come back live. We were live. Hulk was a little bit out of character. Yeah, that makes sense.
Detecting additional hostile contacts. Access key detected.
Off camera, who would have been? You told me before, and maybe we haven't shared it on the show. What level of involvement did NBC have in the main event programs that you guys aired?
Well, they were building Nick Emersol's company, and they had a lot of heavy involvement. They wrote a lot of scripts, and they had a lot to do with the production of it. They were very, very much heavily involved. It was co-promotion.
But you were producing television at the time, so where would you have been in this backstage thing?
At that point, I was running. I was running from Gorilla back to the medic scene. Getting my full brother love gear.
And headset.
Yes.
Shit was off the air with an
Hostile is a golden bullet.
Yes.
And now, kind of backtrack, WrestleMania 4, they're all bringing together.
Maybe have a family.
SummerSlam, you look Survivor Series,
Golden bullet.
Savage out. Now, main event, Logan tries to rescue this We're back in Atlantic City. We're at the Trump Plaza. We talked at length, you and I, once before about what a partner Donald Trump was. He's obviously very timely to discuss right now. Share with everybody what it was like dealing with him for those two wrestlers.
Donald Trump was a joy. He really was true professional. Everything he said he was going to do, he did it first class. He was a great partner. He was a great partner to promote with. He was a great partner to rent the building from. He was a great partner to stay in his beautiful hotels. And again, over delivered. He was absolutely excellent.
So, we're here now. It's going to be a really big main event. Where would you rate WrestleMania 5 at the time amongst the other WrestleManias? Obviously, as far as interest in dollars, WrestleMania 3 would have still trumped it, I'm sure. But would it be second all time, would you think, at the time? Oh,
Yes. I think 3 was number 1.
Right.
5.
And does it turn back to the main level? Savage that was wrapped up in elbow till everybody was up with that.
Randy. So, which is very, very dangerous.
sliding in part from me. So let's talk about the match. I think this is probably one of Hogan's best matches he's had in a big time pay-per-view ever. Would you disagree with that?
No, it was an excellent match because it was a real story. And by the time he got there, now the main event, two-man WrestleMania, you're hearing Randy and you're seeing the footage. Randy showing you what he's saying. See that look in his eyes right there? That's a look of lust. Looking into this lust in your eye.
Inventory.
You're up. You're trying for a free grab. Then you get there, and it's not enough to try and take freebies and liberties with the Elizabeth. You gotta show me up, throw me over the rope, eliminate the Macho Man. But it all came to a head when I'm in the ring. You take Elizabeth in the back to do who knows what. You left me out there, feed me to the wolves of all this shit. Fruit Randy's eyes. Then on the backside you got home, and who's sitting there telling you, man, I was there with you. My God, we're in the ring. Who's no one happier at SummerSlam than me? I wasn't looking at this with lust in my eyes. I'm looking at her with love in my eyes. Because I love you guys, man. We're the Mega Powers. You get to Survivor Series, grabbing her backside. My God, no. You were so jacked up, brother. You had her up and you had her on your shoulders, and I just reached up because your delts were swelling, and she was about to fall, and I steadied her with my hands so she wouldn't fall. I thought Bad News Brown was going to eliminate you. Took the opportunity. Sorry you got eliminated. And then you get to the main event, Hulk Hogan, and I saw her. She was bleeding out, man. You didn't even know how bad she was hurt. I had to get her because you were stuck in the ring, man. You were doing great on your own. So I took her back to the back to get her the help that she needed. And you came back there and you saw me over her. And I tried to tell you, hey, man, she's going to be okay. But instead, you took it out on me. Well, now it is personal between you and me, and now I'm going to take something that means so much to you. I'm going to take the championship. But it was just beautiful.
Inventory.
Over the entire year to get to the Mega Power.
Inventory. Season.
Which was really a phenomenal pay-per-view. 1989 is my absolute favorite year in wrestling. You know, one of the things that I think I read a long time ago that I really liked was explaining villains. And it said, you know, what makes a great bad guy is that bad guys never think they're doing anything bad. They believe in what they're doing. And this is a perfect example of that because Macho Man is technically not doing anything heelish here. And you can totally see both sides. At this point in 1989, we're several years into Hulkamania. Would you say that people had started to maybe some of his popularity started to wane a little bit? People were growing a little tired of it. Not the hardcore fan, but I just wondered, just in the general public, had it peaked and now it was maybe dipping just a little bit?
Not yet. Not yet.
So you would say 1989 revenues, in your estimation, were higher than 88?
Yeah.
And 88, in your estimation, was higher than 87?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, even crazier than
It went down at 90. Can we agree on that?
well, yeah, because you had Warrior on top.
All right, we'll talk about that another time.
But where it really got crazy though is you had
whatever it
drop
takes.
the titles Warrior a year later, and the audience sat 5 hours of television tapings. They had seen Ultimate Warrior 3 times. Hogan never went out the whole tape until
Glad you're here, Agent.
the end of the night. And this is like quarter to midnight. And the audience place has been there since 7 o'clock in the evening. And we're 15 minutes to the strike of midnight before Hogan comes out.
Central
And
business agent.
I just
Inventory.
remember the place's erupting.
And it's just 90, if I remember.
Yes, this is the television tapings after Warrior is champion, beating Hogan in Toronto, and coming out we did like Niagara Falls, Glens Falls, Buffalo up there. Hulk was like a brand new guy walking on water.
I gotta ask, I was gonna ask this today since we're talking about the 5, but WrestleMania 6, the match is over, Hogan's lost. The ref immediately goes and grabs the belts and starts to give them to Ultimate Warrior. Hogan corrects that real quick. Belts magically go back where they were. Hogan goes and picks the belt up and presents the Warrior with his World Championship belt and raises his hand. In doing that, is that for Warrior or is that for Hogan?
That was for Warrior.
Come on, Bruce. You don't think that's Hogan stealing some thunder from Warrior? For him to be the baby face and not just let him have his moment and get out of the damn ring?
Is everything a conspiracy? No, it was for Hogan to sprinkle the Hulk dust on Warrior by going, here you go, pass the torch. Literally, passing the torch. Here's the championship. Way to go, big boy. I suppose it was Hogan's call following back on the riding little ring they went to.
Which is the coolest thing you'll ever did, and I want one of those real bad. I would love to ride that up and down my road.
So how long have I been out here?
I don't know that I put this together in the last few years, but what a great string of opponents the Macho Man had at WrestleMania. Let's start with WrestleMania 3. He's against Ricky Steamboat, phenomenal match. WrestleMania 4, Ted DiBiase, awesome match. WrestleMania 5, the end of a year-long storyline against the biggest star in the history of the business, Hulk Hogan, hell of a match. WrestleMania 6, he's against the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Pretty big-time opponent, no matter what the title is. And now, then WrestleMania 7, retirement match against the Ultimate Warrior. He would have to get out of this. Well, but at the time, the Warrior wasn't top act. But I mean, like it or not, you look at the shit, don't make that hand job on you. And then WrestleMania 8, Ric Flair. What a string of opponents where you've got Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Ricky Steamboat, Ted DiBiase, American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and Ric Flair. What a run of WrestleMania content. And WrestleMania 10 against Rush. I mean, what a run you guys did.
Every single one of those guys were better than I had worked with them.
So I know we'll probably have an opportunity to
Hostile
talk
control
about it
point
again
nearby.
later, but what was the mood when Randy left?
I don't know if it was necessarily a move. Kind of came out of the blue.
Golden bullet being assembled by hostile.
We met at the studio, not at the studio, we met at the Towers in Stanford. We were both
Hostile has full golden bullet.
television, which was like Bushkill or somewhere in the Poconos. And it was going to be myself, Vince, Pat Patterson, Jake McMahon.
Engaging ice!
drunk and called me. And we did that.
Civilians in distress.
So there was talk the previous week. I just read this week. I read it on Spring Circle on Reddit, and hopefully someone here is talking about Spring Circle on Reddit. Gives us a mention there. Gives the show a little love. Supposedly the week before Vince makes the announcement on Raw that Brandon's gone from the Federation, he makes some sort of comment about being an uncomfortable seat, not wanting to be in that seat anymore. And Vince says something like,
Reinforcements en route.
is that some sort of reference to his spot in the company and his wanting to wrestle Vince wanting to go with the What do you think will come up? So that's another deal.
Agent killed.
I mean, obviously he still wanted to wrestle. He wrestled many years after that. He's one of the reasons he left. He wanted to wrestle. And was that decision based on just his desire for the athleticism or the spotlight, or was it more money?
I think it was more money, and because it was the opposite of what we were hearing. Randy wanted to get out of the way, more money, be a part of the office, help us write TV, learn the business
As
side.
far as you know,